Howdy everyone, my name is Cody Ling. I'm a landscape and wildlife artist. Recently I had a request on how I lay out my canvases. It's actually a really interesting tool. It's called dynamic symmetry. So in this video, we're going to talk about what dynamic symmetry is. We're going to lay it out on a canvas, and then at the end I'm going to show you a few examples. So stick around and let's get started. Okay, so first off, what is dynamic symmetry? Well, it's basically just a system of design. We use it to create balance and visually engaging compositions. It's actually been used for centuries by old masters, photographers, and used in film as well. So it's different from static symmetry, which is pretty rigid and predictable. Dynamic symmetry allows us to create movement and flow within this image. So there's a number that we need to keep track of, and it comes from something called the golden ratio. So if you haven't heard of the golden ratio, I recommend just going on Google and looking it up. It's a really pretty interesting number. It's essentially nature's growth sequence. But to rationalize it down, the number we need is just this. It's 1 over 1.618. And I know that looks kind of complicated, but in reality, all we need is just this 0.618. So when you're using dynamic symmetry, just remember this number. You can write it down. You can just spend some time remembering it. You'll pick it up in no time. So this is the part where we're going to go ahead and jump into the canvas. And this is 11 by 14 inches. We're just going to pretend it's a canvas so I can show you this as an example. So the first thing we want to do is to take our largest number at the bottom here. It doesn't matter if it's vertical or horizontal, but we just need largest size. So that's going to be 14 inches. And we're going to use as our golden ratio number. So we're going to take 14 and multiply this by 0.618 equals 8.6. And for our purposes right now, we're just going to round this to be 8.5, so that's going to be 8.5 inches. Okay, so we take our ruler, just a standard ruler, and we just find 8.5. And we're going to come down and start at the corner down here. We're going to mark this at 8.5. And we come up to the top, or close to it, so we have a control line, 8.5. And we just make a vertical line on this to start. Okay, down. Alright, so that's from this side, and then we're going to do it from this side over as well. So 8.5, mark it. 8.5, mark it. There, and that's our second vertical line. I'm good about this, but do it quick. Okay, so these are our most important lines. So where we got our number was 8.6. Now, depending on canvas you want to use, say if it's 16 inches, 24 inches, it's all the same. You're just going to multiply it by this number right here, our golden ratio number, and you're going to come out with a fairly similar layout. It's just a ratio. Alright, next part is we're going to do these diagonal lines. I have to get a larger ruler. Just go ahead and mark this. Like that. Down here, go to this other corner. Okay, it'll be pretty accurate, it'll be perfect. Okay, so that's what we have. And then our final step, I'm going to grab this other ruler. We'll be going from these corners. So we'll start here, here, mark it, mark this. Okay, it looks like a bit of a star pattern. And finally, this is a pretty simple version. There are more lines you can draw, but for our purposes, it's pretty unnecessary. Alright, so here we go. We've made our canvas into some nice geometry. Our next step is identifying points. So where these vertical lines go from our first number, where these diagonals are, right here, represented by these square marks I'm making. There's 4 of them. These are primary points, right here, prime. So if you're designing your subject, your canvas and your composition, and you have something that you really want the eye to see, the viewer to see, right here, these prime points, that's an area where you'd like to put it. And we have another spot out here where these come in, these circles. Technically this could be one, but more of these guys. Here, just do this. These are secondary. So these are good areas for some of your background composition. So if you're a landscape painter, some of these areas where a mountain could end up, tree lines, horizontal, field lines, these are great areas for that to end up. All you need is just a transition. So this could be all sky. We have a mountain starting from here. It can go through here, it doesn't really matter. But they'll have an area of transition. So it's going to be darker down here if this is a sky. And here are primary points. These are really good places for main subjects to go, such as a bear, a person, an area where you want the viewer to really see. Now, these points, there's 4 of them, I typically just choose one, and then these ones are gone. So you can choose any one you want, but you don't really want to use more than one for a subject, because that's going to overcomplicate things. Secondary points, you can use as many as you want. You can even have part of your composition, say a tree line, hit some of these primary points, but it doesn't have to be such a important part. Right here would be a great place for a bear or something of that sort. Alright, I'm going to use this as an example. This was a recent painting I finished, and I had just overlaid this. So here is our dynamic symmetry laid out. And right here is the painting. This was a small study. So for this piece, what I did was used a cow elk here as on a secondary point. And that's because, well, this is how the composition laid out, but I also just wanted the viewer to be able to see her as the main subject, but also allow the eye to fade off into the distance. Some areas also, I used some of the tracks here to roughly follow the line here, and also same with the mountain. And here, this horizontal line, I roughly put in where the tree line should go. So you should think of dynamic symmetry as essentially being a hidden structure that helps guide the viewer's eye. Alright, so here's just another quick example, and this one's actually a nice example because it shows you how there is basically sort of a hidden geometry behind this actual painting. Right here, just went ahead and made the geometry over the painting so it's a little easier to see, but I mean, it looks like a pretty standard painting, but I actually chose specific areas for these harlequin ducks to rest based on the geometry. And that is mostly within this area, I had anywhere there was a transition of different color, maybe the duck, the drake here into this rock area, I had him placed right there, and same with between the bottom of him and into the water. And also here as a main point, just a transition there. And also with the hen here, I placed her in a way that is seemingly more pleasing to the eye, rather than just randomly approaching it without any sort of forethought. Okay, so here's my last example, and it's just more of an open-end one, but it's just of this grizzly bear, and I placed him in a way that match geometry. I mean, that's the point of this, is that you don't have to use it like a formula. It just gives you a good reference. And there's good areas where maybe there would be some nice transition. And sometimes it's also nice just to ignore it. But you can see here, maybe in the ear, or down here where the head was, legs, just certain areas that are somewhat a little more interesting. And then, of course, you can create more interest by creating soft edges or hard edges, but that's the whole point of this, is it allows you the flexibility of what you'd like to paint, but maybe place it in a way that could be more pleasing for the eye or the viewer. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you learned something or if you have any other questions, go ahead and comment below. If you'd like to see more of this type of format in the future, go ahead and like and subscribe. I appreciate you watching to the end. Till next time, take care.